Order the February 23rd, 2016 special meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have the roll call?
Councilmember Devine.
Here.
Friedman.
Here.
Garbetian.
Here.
Sinanian.
Here.
Mayor Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
Sure. The agenda for the February 23rd, 2016 special meeting of the City Council was posted on Friday, February 19, 2016 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Will you read the first item?
Sure. Director of Community Development regarding exclusive negotiating agreement with W&W Cornerstone Development, LLC for the development of Marriott AC Hotel and city-owned parking lot number 2. 1A, motion authorizing the city manager to enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement with W&W Cornerstone Development, LLC for the potential ground lease of the city-owned property identified as APN 5643019900, commonly referred to as parking lot number 2.
Mr. Ochoa.
Keeping with the Darlene Sanchez show, she'll present to you a brief overview of this E&A.
Yes, I will do that. This item is a request for an exclusive negotiated agreement for the purpose of negotiating a ground lease at city-owned parking lot number 2 for the development of a 117-room Marriott AC hotel. Boutique hotel development has been a top priority for Glendale's attraction and recruitment efforts for downtown. A delegation comprised of economic development staff as well as council members have attended the ICSC retail conference in the past to meet with and recruit hotel industry leaders. At ICSC, we met with representatives of various hotels, with one of them being Marriott International. As part of this momentum in Glendale's hotel market, coupled with the proactive asset management of city properties, the City Council approved an exclusive negotiating agreement in November of last year with Hotel Indigo, which is an IHG product at City Parking Lot number 3 for a 130-room hotel. And you'll see it's denoted in the yellow triangle. Marriott, who does not currently have a presence in Glendale and for many years has expressed strong interest in developing here, teamed up with the development team of W&W Cornerstone Development for the purpose of this brand new AC hotel. This lifestyle brand by Marriott boasts itself as a modern and upscale option of Marriott. They have over 80 AC hotels in their North American pipeline, just after importing this specific brand from Spain 2 years ago. AC Hotel focuses on creating a unique atmosphere that complements Glendale's arts and entertainment district in the downtown. Something from this proposal that made this development team stand out was that they were really inspired and influenced by the Alex Theater, and they are really intent on delivering a 117-room hotel that would feature art throughout their property.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Are those pictures from an AC hotel in the U.S. or are those from an AC hotel in Europe?
One is from the Miami, and then the other are from Europe. Those are European.
Which is the Miami one?
I believe it's this one. It's bottom left.
Bottom left.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, there you go. The project team of W&W Development LLC has the experience we look for in the development of other hotels. They're a well-capitalized group with experience in the development of a number of hotels in Los Angeles. They've worked with national brands such as Marriott, Hilton, IHG, and Choice, as well as La Quinta. They are currently in the process of developing 2 mixed-use projects in the city of Artesia, which will each include a Marriott flagship. This map here shows the location of the proposed AC hotel. It's situated east of the mid-brand block on the northwest corner of Maryland and California in the area we consider our arts and entertainment district. It's currently improved with 55-meter parking spaces, all of which the developer would be required to replace. When we consider an exclusive negotiating agreement at this site, what it does is allow W&W the ability to conduct the due diligence to find out the developability of this project. It's a non-binding agreement that will provide 180 days for W&W to explore feasibility and conduct this due diligence. Under this agreement, the developer will provide the city with a conceptual site plan. They'll provide a financial feasibility analysis and also some preliminary environmental study. During this term, the developer will provide written update to the city, and both parties will commence in good faith negotiations for the potential ground lease. Ground lease terms will include pricing, specific design plans. It will identify Marriott as the hotel brand, and it will also have terms that will require the developer to park this project as well as replace any of the city property. That concludes my report. I can answer any questions. The development firm is here. They've also teamed up with local architect Domus Design, who is also here to answer any questions that you might have. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have a question. Darlene, did I read in the report somewhere that there were some additional parking spaces maybe in this project besides the already existing?
As far as what they would have to replace, anything that is existing now, so the metered parking and any accessible parking spots they'd replace, and then whatever their development required, they would add to that. Most likely it would have to go underground for those spaces, for all the spaces.
Okay. Darlene, would
Yes.
this be a union hotel in terms of its operations?
That is something that we would talk about during the ENA process. As my understanding, there's not a set precedent right now requiring them, but we've had some preliminary discussions where we've posed the question, and it would be something that we would talk to them about during the ENA, and if directed, it would have to be part of the
I think
ground
that's
lease.
important given that this is on public property. I think it's important that the workers in the hotel and the people who build it have the protections that a union would give them.
Well, that's something we can discuss at the, is that something, well, let me ask, is that something staff will discuss, or is that something council will set a policy for?
Ultimately, it's something that we would seek advice from council on in the context of the ENA. That's the purpose of the ENA, is to understand what is your direction as council.
Okay, so
But have
that,
we, in the past, whenever it's been public land, like Lemley, did we require that they use union?
No, the law would.
I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying.
If you
Always?
if there is a subsidy, it'll be prevailing wage, but that is distinct from a union or a PLA type project.
Okay.
The notion of a PLA, the information that we are receiving back is that the hotel operators can do it as a PLA, but only if directed by the city. And because they do work in cities where there are PLAs, so it isn't something that's wholly foreign to them, but it does add a degree of complexity to the deal. So they would do it if directed by the city, and thus you are the city council. When we do a development agreement, your direction will be present in it.
And just to remind people that the Hilton, when it was originally a redevelopment project and was not, as my understanding, not originally a union shop, but had a lot of actions and boycotts and strikes because of that. And I think rather than go down that road, given that this is on city property, that we should, have the unions that represent hotel workers come and explain the benefits.
Right, that would be done at the ENA process, and we want to. This is just an ENA process. We just
I
did
understand,
one
but they're
couple of
asking
months
us.
ago.
Wait a minute, they're asking us to give direction, right now. So we have to give direction as to what we're going to be asking them to negotiate. Or wait until the end. At
this point, what we would be asking for is the approval of the ENA, and as we come back to a development agreement, before that 180 days is up, you will have decided as a council that you will or will not do a PLA, an operating agreement like the one you're talking about that goes beyond the PLA for construction. All of that will be present in that final development agreement pending your discussion.
Right, but so that we're able to make an informed decision about that, we need to make sure that we have the pros and cons of this available for the council to debate.
Well, and if they're here now, can we ask them if they usually use union workers? What is do they have a policy about
City
that?
Attorney.
Or is that just the city?
It's up to Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's certainly up to you what you want to ask that. But I would say that the folks who are here from the applicant are probably from the development side, not the operation side, so they wouldn't be able to answer that specific question. But again, as Mr. Ochoa stated, this is the initial step in the process. We anticipate we'll be coming back to you many times during the negotiation process to vet out these various issues.
Okay.
I'll move the item.
Second.
And I have another question. Are there any AC hotels in the area that we can see? We get a sense. I've never been to one. I'd love to know kind of what we're
Have you been to an
gonna be getting,
Indigo
given
hotel?
that this- Excuse me?
Have you been to an Indigo hotel?
No, I haven't been to an Indigo either.
Okay.
I'd love to see both of those because this is, it's not like a private development where we're just saying, yes, this is city property, and I think we have a responsibility to kind of make sure we know what we're getting.
Well, I think the important factor is that it is a branch of the Marriott.
I'm just saying, if they're around, it'd be great to go see Indigo and to go see AC.
San Diego.
Ms. Sanchez, do you
We
have
can
an answer?
certainly arrange a Hotel Indigo visit, but as far as AC Hotel, there isn't anything local. Miami, Denver, and I believe Connecticut was.
Not locally.
So,
We don't mind going to Miami.
but
Hurricane season.
I'll arrange Hotel Indigo.
That's a great question. I mean, it's good to see what it is they're getting into,
Yeah.
but there will be one once, if and when one is built in Glendale, I guess. But there has to be a first one for everything. So
They're very new to the market.
I ask because there are certain hotel chains that I wouldn't be enthusiastic about us putting on city property, given that we have a choice. It's not like a private property. I'd just like to know that we're getting a high-quality project. So maybe we can do a little research into the ones that are in the U.S. and look at the Yelp reviews and the Hotel.com reviews and see what people are saying.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, let's take roll call.
Councilmember Devine,
Yes?
Friedman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Sinanian,
yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Next item, please.
2, General Manager of GWP regarding financial advisory and legal services for proposed Glendale Water and Power Electric Revenue Bonds 2016. 2A, motion authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a professional service agreement with Public Financial Management Incorporated to act as GWP's financial advisor for proposed 2016 electric revenue bond in the not-to-exceed amount of $80,000. 2B, motion authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a legal services agreement with Nixon Peabody LLP to act as GWP's bond counsel and disclosure counsel for proposed 2016 electric revenue bond in the not-to-exceed amount of $100,000. 2C, resolution of appropriation to transfer funds from account 255000552 to project 431105529111506 UE093.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, would it also, with your indulgence, could we read item 3 because we use the same procurement process on both of these because they're really closely tied together? Can we read the next one?
Yes, Arm, why don't you read item 3 into the record as well?
3, General Manager of GWP regarding professional service agreements for financial advisory services and bond disclosure counsel for proposed Glendale Water and Power Grayson Power Plant repower. 3A, motion authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a professional service agreement with Public Financial Management Incorporated to act as GWP's financial advisor in the not-to-exceed amount of $80,000. 3B, motion authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a professional service agreement with Norton Rose Fulbright LLP to act as GWP's bond counsel and disclosure counsel advisor in the not-to-exceed amount of $173,000. 3, that was it.
Thank you. Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. As Mr. Zern comes on up for any questions, we have this on the agenda considering the length of the evening agenda, and these two items are tied together by the RFP that was used for the procurement. You see that we are looking to refinance the 06 and 08 bonds, hopefully save a little more, anticipate save a little more than $3 million on each one of those issues. Pretty straightforward, but we would be asking to use different counsel on these two transactions, and primarily because the second transaction, the one for Grayson Power Plant, is obviously considerably more complex than a standard refinance of revenue bonds. So if you have questions about the qualifications of the two firms, certainly Steve can answer those for you, but that's basically how we're looking at these two matters.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and these are not in quite the order. The main thrust, the main proposal process was for Grayson. As that process proceeded through, we had some advisory input that our 06 and 08 bonds were eligible for refinancing it. There were some very favorable rates. So we issued an addendum, as Mr. Ochoa said, essentially the same process. We had vetted these firms. We issued an addendum asking them to also submit a price for the refinance. And on the Grayson Power project, we went with this firm, Norton Rose, and they are a firm that has a long history of bond issuance on large energy projects, whether those are power plant construction, whether that's renewable projects, whether those are SCAPA-based multi-agency projects. This, in fact, is a firm that works quite a bit with SCAPA and the member agencies individually from Los Angeles to Burbank, Pasadena, Riverside, Anaheim. They have extensive knowledge. The other thing that was really critical with this firm is that they realized the Grayson Power Plant project, the Grayson Repower, was a very complicated project. We haven't even decided yet whether we're going to go forward and do it. So there's a little bit of that uncertainty. We needed to get out in front, as I said to you before, to get the financial firms in place so we can give you the proper cost-benefit analysis when you are faced with making that final decision. There's also in discussions internally the potential that we may issue more than one bond, depending on timing and how the market is. And this firm actually called us before the process was over and essentially interviewed us to make sure that they were dialed in, and that had them far and above the most qualified firm on the surface of their experience, but certainly the one that best understood where we were going with this project. We then issued the addendum. The refinance is not nearly as complicated, much more of a, I don't want to say easy process, but certainly much less complicated than the Grayson project. And then we had a good bid from this firm and thought it would be a good idea to use them. We hadn't used them a lot in the past. Good idea to use them on this refinance, see what they can do. And spread the work a little bit so we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. So therefore, that is, although we do have all of our eggs in one basket with PFM, they're the only firm that applied. They're probably the only firm that would ever apply in this particular realm. They are the preeminent experts in financial consulting for governmental bond issues, especially my experience has been in the utility industry. So with that said, just some details on the refinance. The 0608 bonds, we're looking at cutting a little bit more than 2 points off of each of those in regards to interest rates, and over the life of the bond, expect to save about $6.5 million. I can give you details if you're interested on one over the other, the 06 versus the 08, but generally speaking, that's what our total savings would be.
Mr. Garbechian.
What is the amount of the bond that we're refinancing?
There's two. The 06 bond is about just a tad under $40 million, and the 08 bond is $60 million. Both of these are electrical bonds.
And what did we do with those bonds?
This was capital improvement in the electrical system, the infrastructure of the electric department. This was almost exclusively in the distribution system. We didn't have any major project. As you know now, the existing, or the last bond issue we had, one of the big projects was the Grandview substation renovation. This was almost exclusively invested into the distribution system.
Was the $60 million for the smart meters?
No, sir.
No. Okay.
It went into core infrastructure.
Core infrastructure. Okay.
Are there any questions? Yes.
The question is not entirely on point, but since my colleague raised the issue of the smart meters, so we invested something like $60-some million in the smart meters, and the idea was that it would optimize our. What was the idea? To optimize the recovery of.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Sinanian, there was a number of issues that those automated meters, the advanced meter technology were to provide, from billing services and our ability to automate the billing cycles, to our ability to read remotely, our ability to incorporate it into our outage response. Sometimes being able to remotely respond to an outage, but otherwise having notification sooner.
Sure.
I'm sorry?
Leak detection.
That's on the water side. Definitely leak detection is one of those. Theft and loss. It improves our theft and loss. So we know a lot quicker when we see unusual reads, anomalies in the system that can lead us to tracking that down.
Okay. And if I were to ask you to quantify as to how much revenue that has created for the city or has saved for the city, is that something you'd be able to do?
if I could go back and take a look at it, it's not always as easy as a dollar and cents type of a thing. But when you start to look at things like reliability, so this contributes towards your reliability. It contributes towards the efficiency in not only just, believe it or not, it's just that meter, but also how the substations work from the transmission into distribution system. But I could certainly go back, Mr. Sinanian, to the best I could. Maybe more on that loss prevention side of things, you get a better dollar cents figure, but some of it may be difficult to quantify. It's just, advanced technology. And we may have been a little bit ahead of the curve in Glendale in putting those in, but we certainly are far from alone today as utility after utility begins to put these in.
At the time, we were the first, weren't we?
We were one of the very first. We were certainly one of the first to put both water and electric in and put them in at the same time.
And we received money from the federal government.
We did. We did from the federal and the state government. We received a smaller stipend from the state government.
Well, how much was the money from the federal and state government?
The federal government was $20 million. The state was $1 million.
So that went towards compensating or subsidizing our $60 million that we spent, or no? That was in addition to. That would have been money.
In addition to.
So it would have been $90 million,
right?
Instead of.
So it was more like about $70 million, Mr. Sinanian.
Okay, so
ours and the grant monies together totaled about $70 million.
So our end of it was like 40.
Let's call it 50, probably. Yeah, 40, 49. Okay. Yes.
And the reason I ask, in case someone's wondering, the reason I ask is because that question still comes up. People say, well, why do we get into these things? Like, why do we invest all that money into technology that, A, was untested, B, really, what is it saving us? And I'd like to be able to answer, this is what we've gotten for it. Other than the convenience, other than sort of the niceties, I think I told you before, my dad is one of those people who checks every day. He goes online and he checks what's going on. He's out of the country. He checks it online to see what's happening with his water and electricity bill. But in terms of hard money, in terms of whether that's a good investment or not, I would like to be able to answer people that it actually was. And the reason this came to mind was not only Mr. Garpetian, sort of mentioning it, but also when Ms. Estelano was asked how much the city of LA invested into this green tech cluster thing. We invested into a technology. Almost a decade ago now? Or is it like 7-8 years ago?
It's going towards 10.
Yeah,
still under 10. Yes.
Towards 10. We invested $50 million back then. That's a lot of money, and it's good. It'd be nice to know whether it was a good investment or not.
And I think, again, we'll certainly do our best. The modernization of the utility, in some cases, like I said, is hard to put a dollar figure on. Your father, for instance, that's a direct result of us putting in this technology, which isn't just the meters. It's the software that goes in it. It's the apps for the phones. It's the different water and electric services that we put in place for you to monitor that. It contributes towards conservation. I know you all know that. But I will do my best to see if we can't put something together that gives you that.
If there's no other comments, then we have several items. 2A, B, and C. Would someone like to move them?
I'll move it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Devine.
Yes.
Friedman.
Yes.
Garpetian.
Yes.
Sinanian.
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. And we have 3A and B.
I move them.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Devine.
Yes.
Friedman.
Yes.
Garpetian.
Yes.
Sinanian. Mayor
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes. And that concludes our business. Would someone like to move to adjourn?
So moved.
And the special meeting is adjourned.
We do not. Yeah.
Okay, then. See you this evening.